my loves, what's up? What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the April 2022 Zodiac sign prediction. We're going to be talking about some of the major transits that are happening in the month of April and how they're going to be affecting your particular Zodiac sign. Be sure to check out your sun, your moon, and your rising sign in order to get the most all-encompassing horoscope for you, because those are the personal signs that you're going to want to look at in order to get the most accurate horoscope for you. I personally use tropical astrology, but again, if you do not know what your moon and your rising sign are, there is some calculators online where you can find that out. You are going to need to know your exact birth time in order to know your rising sign, and as well the city that you were born in order to know your exact rising sign. If you do not know those, then just check out your sun and your moon, because that will also give you a pretty in-depth horoscope for the month of April. Pretty much one of the things that I wanted to mention off the bat is that we have basically no retrogrades for all of April. Once again, we've been having this for the past couple months where there's like no retrogrades happening, other than at the end of April. We do have Pluto going retrograde on the 29th, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that, as well as we have a solar eclipse at the end of the month. That's our first solar eclipse for this year. So I'm really excited about, we're going to be talking about how that's going to be affecting your zodiac sign in the month of April and all that kind of jazz. We also have a lot going on in Pisces this month. So we're going to talk about how that's affecting your sign. Also, it was my phone going off, so just in case you guys are wondering what that little noise was. But anyway, and as always, there's going to be timestamps down below, so you guys can click and skip ahead right to your particular zodiac signs. So with that being said, without further ado, let's hop right into today's video. All right, so my beautiful Aries, we're going to be obviously starting off with you, since you are the first of the zodiac signs, and we're also kind of in your birthday right now. A little bit of March, a little bit of April, you know, so all of my Aries, happy birthday to you if you're having a birthday coming up soon, or if you recently just had one. But from April 4th to 6th, we're going to be having Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius in your 11th house. This is actually going to cause you to realize where we might need to set up more boundaries within our friendships, in our relationships, where we need to set up more boundaries of how we express ourselves to society. I think you're realizing that you want to kind of mature in different ways, and you're also wanting people to treat you more maturely as well. And so we're kind of realizing where we want to have certain like boundaries when it comes to our friends, when it comes to how we, you know, normally present ourselves towards our friends, towards our family, towards the world and society. Maybe we're starting to realize that we want to kind of like create certain filters, and maybe we're not wanting to show off so much anymore. Maybe we're not wanting to, you know, like, I don't know, like let people kind of walk all over us or anything like that. We're really wanting to set up more proper boundaries and also kind of like have this sense of maturity and to also be seen in a new way. With all of this happening in the sign of Aquarius as well, this can also be that we're having a bit more of our spiritual sense, like wanting to be recognized, wanting to be seen as somebody who like is looked up to as well. So we're kind of just blossoming in all those different ways. On April 5th, we're going to have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces. So it's moving from your 11th house all the way into your 12th house. When it was in your 11th house, this was kind of like beautifying friendships. We were feeling like really good with friendships and all that. And with Mars there, we're kind of realizing like, hey, I want to have some of those boundaries up. But now Venus is going to be moving into your 12th house, which is going to be illuminating your 12th house, which is all about the mind, your creativity. This is also about like unkept secrets, hidden stuff bubbling up from the surface, our subconscious mind. Venus moving in here. Venus is the planet of beauty and love and money. And so when it goes into the 12th house, this can be when we unexpectedly have new ways of gaining money, making money, but it can also be unexpected ways of maybe having money go out of our lives as well. So we might have like hidden expenses that we didn't know about, but at the same time, there's also going to be opportunities for making money in random new ways. So this is another great aspect of Venus being in the 12th house, but it can also be where we start to realize that we want to think more positively about the world. We want to have a bit more of a positive, optimistic mindset rather than a negative mindset. So this is also kind of like an area where it's going to be cleaning out your mind, and we're also expanding our mind in new ways, because we also have Jupiter and Neptune over here as well. And Jupiter and Neptune naturally rule the sign of Pisces, and they're in the sign of Pisces. And so this kind of transiting your 12th house here, we're expanding our mind so much, which is probably also why we're wanting to create better boundaries with friendships. We're wanting to show ourselves as a new person to the world, because I think you're mentally going through so many different transformations with so much going on in your 12th house. This is also awakening, like you thinking about your future, you thinking about, you know, what do I really want to show to the world versus what do I want to maybe just like work on my own, and I don't have to maybe share everything that I'm thinking about all the time. Because Aries, you have like a lot of Aries don't really have a filter, and they're kind of just like, I'm just going to express myself the way that I want to express myself. But I think right now with all of this stuff happening in the 12th house, this is kind of like we're thinking, maybe there's certain aspects of me that I just, I can deal with on my own, and I don't need to like share everything with the world anymore. Or, maybe we're just feeling like being a little bit more internal, because the 12th house is where we kind of feel a little bit more internal. But there's also a lot of creativity going on here because there's a lot of really good planets here. And from April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter conjunct Neptune. So this is expanding your creativity in many ways. As you're starting to set up these proper boundaries in your life, you're also starting to expand your creativity so much more. And you're going to notice creativity starting to blossom a lot more around the middle of April. And this is going to really start to help you think about, what are some new ways that I want to maybe make money? What are some new ways or things that I want to get rid of in my life? Because even decluttering, the 12th house is interesting because this can be an area where we like declutter, but then randomly it'll help us become more creative. So even if we're wanting to live a bit more minimally, somehow it's going to allow you to expand, if that makes sense. Whereas normally we think attaining things helps us expand. In the month of April, it's going to be getting rid of stuff and being a little bit more minimal that oddly helps you expand and become more creative. Then also from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune, and this is going to as well cause a lot more creativity. And now we're starting to think about like, what do I want my future to really look like? Because Neptune is the planet of like imagining your future and this fantasy planet, and making a conjunction with Venus, which is the planet of beauty and things like that. Maybe we're wanting a new sense of style within us, but also we're starting to really think about what inspires me most and how can I implement more of that into my future? How can I implement the things that really inspire me into my life now and also create my future to be more fantasy-like, something that I really like, something that you could really envision for yourself, that you really envision yourself enjoying. What does that look like? Because now is the time to start thinking about that and bringing more of that into your life. We're also going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which is in your 10th house. And this is really making you rethink career things. This is really starting to dig up old career stuff in order for it to be transformed, so that we can either transform our career in some way, or we could take it to the next level, or we could get rid of things that no longer serve us. Because maybe we've been working in things or doing things that just don't really resonate with us anymore. And Pluto going retrograde through here is going to help us rethink and reevaluate what our biggest goals are, especially when it comes to career and money. What are those biggest goals? And maybe we're thinking about making some big changes here, because Pluto going through this, and it's been transiting your 10th house for a little while now, we've been really starting to think about what it is we really want, what we feel worthy of, and what we're desiring to really go for. On April 30th, we're going to be having a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, and this is in your 2nd house, dealing with money and material belongings. So for a lot of Aries, this could be where we really start to think about what we no longer want in our lives anymore materially. We're starting to rethink how we want to save money in our relationship with money. We might start rethinking our career and how we want to find more comfort in our lives, because the 2nd house is also where we find comfortability, and it's also the things that we're picky with. So we're starting to maybe get rid of the old things that we used to be picky with, but we're starting to realize that maybe we want to be picky with other things in our lives, especially when it comes to what it is that we own, how we want our environment to be, because the 2nd house is also about our environment, and it is also a little bit about food, because Taurus is really associated with food. Therefore, the 2nd house has some association with food as well, especially since this is happening in the sign of Taurus. So we're also starting to realize that maybe we want a massive diet change, and maybe we're going to really want to focus on our diet and what we put into our bodies. And what we put into our bodies can also deal with like alcohol, smoking, other things like that. What are you putting into your body? Your body is your divine temple. So I think that a lot of Aries, by the end of the month, by the end of April, when we have this new moon solar eclipse, we're going to start really thinking about like, what am I allowing into my sacred temple, me? And is it really serving me? And is there some things that I want to change and let go of? So that is what we have going on for Aries. We're also going to shuffle some of these tarot cards to get any last info on your horoscope for the month of April. So let's see. Aries, what does Spirit have to say for Aries? We have the Empress being reversed. Where are we denying abundance, or where are we maybe not allowing ourselves to create a sacred space to where we get to rejuvenate, because maybe we've been like working so hard and thinking that we have to work super hard in order to live, but we're not really having time to live because we've been either working so hard or we've been maybe even mentally hard on ourselves and not allowing ourselves a break. Because Empress reverse, we might not be allowing ourselves a break. We might be, and you know what's interesting is this card is ruled by Venus, and we got all this Venus moving into Pisces transit and then Venus conjunct Neptune transit that's happening in the month of April. So it's interesting, we have all these Venus transits, and the Empress card being reversed showed up for you, which is literally Venus. We have the sign of Venus right on this card. So where are we denying ourselves the enjoyment of life? Aries, I think your big theme for April is bringing back more Venusian energy into your life. The Venusian energy is realizing that you deserve abundance, you're worthy of abundance, you can create more for yourself where you don't have to work. Because as you can see on the Empress card, she doesn't look like she's lifting a finger. She's not even working, but yet she's surrounded by all this wheat, which symbolizes abundance and money. She's surrounded by so much abundance, like she's even wearing rich clothing. She has a crown on her head. She's the Empress, but she doesn't even move a finger. So Aries, I think it's time to start realizing that you can create abundance and you don't have to like break your back in the process, because that's not abundance, right? Like even if you say you make like $1 million a year or 2 million, 10 million, whatever. Let's say you make so much money every year, but you're breaking your back in the process and not getting a moment to enjoy it. What's even the point of making that much money when we don't get to enjoy it? So a key here for you, Aries, in the month of April is realizing the balance of life and that you need to begin to enjoy yourself in these in-between moments as well. You need to make time to actually enjoy your life rather than push for more. What's the point of having more if we're not even getting to enjoy the more? We're not even getting to enjoy the abundance. So that is one of the main messages for Aries for the month of April, which made so much sense based on the kind of like the planetary transits that we have coming out. And then the last card that we have for you is the King of Swords. We are needing a mental shift, and it makes sense because we have so much going on in the 12th house for you, because we have so much going on in Pisces during this month. So this is a huge mental shift. We're realizing that mentally we need a break, because I think that a lot of Aries have been working themselves to exhaustion or have been too critical or harsh on themselves to where maybe we don't feel like we're worthy of certain things, or I don't know, just all sorts of different ways of being hard on ourselves. The month of April is about getting into a much better mindset, one that really serves you, one where we're very clear on what we want, we're very clear on our boundaries and how much we're willing to do versus how much we're not willing to do. Because again, if we're breaking our back for just a number, like an amount of money, if we're breaking our back but not being able to live, like what is the point of that, right? So we need to have a bit more of a balance, and this sort of clarity is going to be coming up in the month of April, where we're going to start to see like what we need to change in our lives to make our lives more enjoyable, to make them better. And 12th house is the house of secrets. And so there's certain things unconsciously that maybe we haven't been realizing that are going to be coming up in the month of April for us to realize what's been going on unconsciously for us when it comes to self-worth, maybe how we talk down to ourselves, and maybe how we need more encouragement rather than discouragement, and how we need more enjoyment and living rather than breaking our back, hoping that one day we'll get to live. Like, we need the balance. We need to bring in more of that Empress Venusian energy. And this is also about falling back in love with what is it that you really like. Let's create an environment that you love to be in, because when you're in an environment that you love to be in, life becomes easier, it becomes easier to do things and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we have going on for Aries for the month of April. I hope you enjoyed this little horoscope. And again, don't forget to check out your other signs, sun, moon, and rising, to get an all-encompassing horoscope for your month of April. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye. All right, so my Tauruses, let's talk about your month of April. It's going to be a big month, especially at the end of the month, because we're having a solar eclipse in your sign, in the sign of Taurus. So that's going to be really special. But let's start off talking about the beginning of the month. So the beginning of the month, from April 4th to the 6th, we're going to be having Mars conjunct Saturn in the sign of Aquarius in your 10th house. The 10th house is the house of big goals that we want to reach. It's also career, our job, making money, stuff like that, and other big goals. This could even sometimes be personal goals and things like that that we really want to reach and achieve for. When Saturn and Mars are in the 10th house, this is where we need maybe a bit more self-discipline or better boundaries when it comes to our work life or our goals. So either we're needing to set up proper boundaries so that we can have a bit more of personal time so that we can focus more on ourselves, or maybe we need more self-discipline when it comes to getting our butt on the go to like get some certain things done. Maybe we have certain goals that we really want to do, but maybe we're just not scheduling it right to where we can actually make it happen. And maybe we're just realizing, hey, I need a little bit more like self-discipline here, and I need to kind of just like get my butt in gear if I want to see these things come to fruition. So with these two transits, we're realizing that we need more motivation, and our motivation is going to come through setting proper boundaries with our work and our goals and setting proper schedules with that, so we can actually begin to take more action and put more energy in that area. Because Mars being over here, it's giving you a lot of energy to get things done, but in order to get things done, we need to be organized. We need to have like a set kind of like schedule where we know that we're going to stick to it and actually get it done. So that is how we're starting off the month. And then on April 5th, we're going to be having Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is in your 11th house. And this can be where we start to meet new people, because Venus is this planet of love and beauty, and like it can be friendships, especially like deep friendships where we love and things like that. And the 11th house is the house of friendships, like the day-to-day friendships. It's also the house of humanity, how we show up to society and things like that. So Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is in your 11th house, this is going to be where maybe we're expanding and meeting new people. If you're single, this can be where we're starting to date, go on dates. We have love interests, things like that. If we're already in a relationship, this can just be where maybe we feel like we're socializing with our partner a bit more. Maybe we're realizing that we're hanging out in bigger friend groups, having like friendly dinners and things like that. All sorts of fun stuff. Being in the sign of Pisces, though, is where we start to kind of like get very dreamy. But whenever Venus is in the sign of Pisces and it's like transiting that area, sometimes we can have a tendency to wear rose-colored glasses and only see the best in people and the best in things. And this is a time where we might have to be a little bit honest with ourselves and start to realize, like, who do I really love? Who really loves me? Who has my best interest in mind? So that is one thing to keep in mind when we have Venus in Pisces. And we also do have a lot of other things in Pisces going on in the month of April for Tauruses. So Tauruses, just be aware that things might look very dreamy, but we need to keep realistic mindsets. But all in all, it's okay, because a lot of creativity happens when this is going on. So it's actually a really good thing at the same time. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to be having Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So this is also going to be bringing out like just this expansion in creativity, expansion in who you are. This is also expanding your friends as well, since this is all happening in your 11th house once again. So this is where maybe we're making new friends often. Maybe we're going to a lot of dinners or parties. Maybe we're, getting introduced to a lot of new people. Maybe we're noticing that people are saying hi to us in public whenever we're out in public. Maybe people want to spark conversations with us, things like that. So we might be meeting new people, expanding our friendships in some way. This can also be where we're expanding our presence in the world, where we just feel like maybe being outside more, we feel like doing things a little bit more. Again, this is also the beginning of spring right now, so maybe we're just like wanting to spring more into action, do a little bit more, and things like that. But Neptune is this planet of like beauty, and both Neptune and Jupiter are both kind of like rulers of Pisces, and they're in the sign of Pisces right now. So they're kind of just like, in their home sign. Even though Jupiter is mostly associated with Sagittarius, it is the traditional ruler of Pisces. So both of these being in the sign of Pisces is really expanding this sort of like dreamlike energy. So we might be starting to fantasize about what we really want, bigger goals that we want to do. The 11th house can also deal with travel sometimes. So maybe we're also thinking about our bigger plans for the future, what we want our future to look like, maybe certain activities that we want to do, what we want to expand ourselves into. From April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces in your 11th house. And so this is also where we're starting to realize, like, I'm having a lot of enjoyment in my life. And maybe we're having a lot of enjoyment socializing, because the 11th house is the socialization kind of like area. So maybe we're getting invited to a lot more things. Maybe we're noticing a lot more going on. And we're also entering your birthday time, because of course, Taurus starts kind of like on April 20th. And this could be where we are maybe socializing more, because we're surrounded by more people because we're entering our celebratory time as well. So this could be a great time for all of that. So happy birthday to my Tauruses. It is almost your birthday. And then on April 29th, we're going to be having the planet of Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which is in your 9th house. It has been in your 9th house for the past little while, so a lot of Tauruses have been asking themselves the big questions about life lately, and maybe their big philosophies on like, does this view of the world really benefit me? And what doesn't serve me? What belief systems don't serve me? What belief systems do serve me? Tauruses have been going through a lot of self-transformation for the past little while, especially because Uranus has also been in the sign of Taurus. So we've been going through like, you know, some like purging of our old self and like this renewal. But it's really important to ask yourself, Taurus, because unconsciously you're going through this time of purging with this Pluto transit through the 9th house, purging old belief systems and adopting new belief systems. But if you do this consciously, you can make massive positive change in your life if you do this consciously. If you start to really ask yourself, what belief systems, what personality traits of mine really serve me and what doesn't? And it's time to get rid of what doesn't. This Pluto retrograde is really going to help bring about the unconscious, subconscious old belief systems or subconscious old ways of being and acting. And it's time to start getting rid of that and transforming it, because Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's time to start transforming that to something that does serve you. Maybe there's certain personality traits or mindsets that we've had that have really pushed love out of our lives, or pushed other things that we've wanted out of our lives. Or, you know, maybe there's unconscious stuff that's made us not go for what we've really wanted, right? So there could be like self-destructive behaviors that we had or limiting beliefs that we've had that have been actually holding us back. And this Pluto retrograde through the sign of Capricorn is really going to highlight what those things were. Okay, so this is going to allow you to go through a time of transformation. It's going to be here for a few months too. So this is really going to be a great time of transformation as it goes retrograde through your 9th house. Then on April 30th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is of course your 1st house. This is all about you. This is a massive, massive shift. So Tauruses, April 30th, the last day of April, all my Tauruses are going to be going through huge self-transformation of realizing who they really are, who they really want to be. And there's this whole renewal. This is a time where you get to renew yourself. This is almost like kind of like a tower moment in tarot, but like a beautiful tower moment where instead of like being like the traditional tower, it's kind of like the tower's only falling over because there's this beautiful rose growing beneath it and it's causing like all of the old stuff to just be pushed out and pushed away. So this is where you get to blossom. So I want all my Tauruses to write down, who do you want to be? What inspires you the most? Because April is the month where that new rose is going to be blossoming, literally. Like that new rose is going to be blossoming. Who do you want to be? What inspires you the most? Write it down. Make it like a clear picture in your mind, because that new moon solar eclipse that we're going to have is bringing that energy out. Solar eclipses are when the moon kind of comes in front of the sun. It's a new moon, so the moon kind of moves in front of the sun. It eclipses the sun. The sun is like our soul and the moon is our emotions. So now your emotions are going to be kind of like coming to the forefront and coming to the forefront of your soul. What emotions no longer serve you? What old emotions from the past are we still hanging on to that it's time to let go of so that we can become new? New moons are all about becoming new. New resets emotionally, new resets in your soul, because this is a solar eclipse, right? And that's why the sun is called solar, and that's the word where the soul comes from, soul, the sun. And yeah, so what part of your soul really wants to emerge, and what emotions have been repressing your soul? Because it's time to get rid of those. And that new moon solar eclipse is going to allow you to get rid of those. So write down what you want to let go of this month, my Tauruses. Write down what it is you want to let go of, because now's the month to do it. I'm also shuffling some tarot cards just to get any last info from Spirit. We have the 10 of Cups being reversed. So what is holding you back from happiness right now? What is holding you back from feeling fulfilled? There might be something that's holding us back from feeling full fulfillment. Maybe we feel like we're missing something. But guess what, Taurus? You're not. Because you are 100% whole and complete on your own, just the way you are. So it's time to just own that in your soul, because right when your soul feels this, right when you bring out this feeling in your soul, regardless of what it is that you have or do not have in your life, when you reach this soul vibration, everything that you've ever wanted is going to start pouring in your life. Right when you begin to feel this way on a soul level, all the things that you've been wanting and wishing for pour into your life, because we attract what our vibration is. So if our vibration is like, oh, I'm lacking love, or oh, I'm lacking this, and if that's the way that we're feeling all the time, and that's what our core vibration has been, that's what we're going to continue to perpetuate in our physical reality. Because we continually perpetuate our physical reality, it matches our emotional state. So emotionally, if you can get yourself to this point and you just remove anything that's limiting that, because nothing's actually limiting that. You're not missing anything, but it's just a feeling. We feel like we're missing something because maybe our emotions have been clouded and blocking our soul, right? Because that's the solar eclipse. Maybe our emotions have been standing in front of our soul and it's diminishing our soul in some way. So it's time to clear out old emotions that have been holding you back so that you can become like your soul goodness, fulfilled amazingness once again. And then that is going to be the vibration that brings everything back to you that you've been needing and wanting. Ooh, and then the next card that we have is the Queen of Swords. That's so interesting because Aries had kind of like a similar kind of stuff that was coming out for them too. But anyway, the Queen of Swords. This is also a renewal of your mindset. She's like clearly cold, blocking off her emotions. It's time for us to like get our emotions back up, to feel them again so that we can clear them and we can tell ourselves like, hey, I know I've been feeling this way, but I just want to let that go. It hasn't been serving me to feel that way. It has not been serving me to feel sad about this. It hasn't been serving me to still be hurt by my past. It hasn't been serving me to be scared about my future. If those emotions don't serve you, let them go. Let them go, because they're not doing anything for you. What are they doing for you? They're not doing anything other than making you feel the way that you do not want to feel. So when you start to feel the way that you want to feel, that is when all the things start to pour into your life. And that's when all the goodness starts to pour in. So this is emotional transformation for Taurus in the month of April. It's going to be amazing. This is personal transformation. This is personal transformation on so many different levels for you. And it is going to benefit you so much. So I'm very excited about this month for you. I'm very excited about this new moon solar eclipse. Definitely set your intentions for it. Set your intentions of what you want to discard and let go of, and set your intentions for, you know, your soul to really shine its full light without being diminished by fears or other emotions that might be holding it back. So that is what we have going on for my lovely Tauruses for the month of April. I hope you enjoyed your horoscope. Definitely be sure to check out your other sun, moon, and rising signs to get the full all-encompassing horoscope for the month of April for you. Hope you enjoyed it, and if so, I'll see you in my next one. Bye! All right, so my lovely Geminis, welcome to your part of the horoscope for the month of April. So we start off April from April 4th to 6th. We're going to have Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, which is in your 9th house. The 9th house is all about our philosophies, our belief systems. So right in the beginning of April is where we're going to start to realize where we've had limiting belief systems that have been really holding us back. And Mars is like, I want to break through that. I want to break out of that. And its conjunction over to Saturn is showing us where we've had certain limitations on maybe we've limited ourselves in certain ways and we said like, oh, I can't have that because of this, or like, oh, I can't do that because of this, or like limiting belief systems on ourselves, realizing that maybe we had some negative like mindsets that were going on, negative philosophies or whatever that were hindering us. And they're just belief systems, right? And so now we're starting to realize like, hey, there's certain areas that I really want to take action on that I would really love to like aim for, because the 9th house is also what we're aiming for in our lives. And the 9th house wants to aim unlimitedly. Like the 9th house wants to aim for the biggest possible anything. When we have Saturn transiting here, it's making us aware that maybe we had certain limitations of feeling like, oh, well, I can't have that. I'm only worthy of this. So Like we're realizing, hey, I have big dreams and I need to like break out of old limitations that were maybe holding me back in these areas. So that's going to kind of become a prominent idea or thought in the beginning of April, and how we can actually break out of that, break free of those things so that we can actually move into more expansion. Then on April 5th, we're going to be having the planet of Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is going to be in your 10th house. The 10th house is our big goals, our career goals and things like that. Venus moving over here, Venus is the planet of money and love and beauty and things like that. So moving into the sign of Pisces, maybe we're going to start to get more creative on like, how can we make more money? How can we like, you know, beautify our goals a little bit more? How can we make them more enticing? How can I get re-inspired? Because this is thinking about how can I get re-inspired and add in more inspiration, creativity, and more beauty into my life and into the goals that I want to reach, into my career. How can I love my career more? How can I just like spruce it up and spice it up so that I just enjoy it so much more? So this is going to be where we're starting to realize those different types of things and where we're starting to want to add more fun and more creativity in those areas. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to be having Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces, which is also in the 10th house, of course. These two planets are actually the rulers of Pisces. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces, and then Neptune is, of course, the now more common modern ruler of Pisces. So these two planets making a conjunction in their kind of like home sign, this is bringing about so much creativity and so much expansion and so much more like ideas around career and also around the big goals that you want to attain and reach in your life. The 10th house is like what we're aiming for, right? And also the 9th house and 10th house. What are you aiming for? 10th house is more of like our career goals, our career aims, our monetary aims, and things like that. With these two planets, we're starting to realize that maybe we have bigger goals than we realized. And I think it's also because of the fact that we're starting off the month breaking out of limitations. As we're breaking out of those limitations, this is going to free your mind to start thinking about, ooh, what do I want to expand into? And it's so perfect that we're having these transits that are happening kind of like in a perfect sequence that allow you to first break out of limiting beliefs and then break into more expansion than you've ever realized before and more creativity than you've ever realized before. So now we're starting to get more creative. How can we have more fun in this area? How can we get more inspired by our career, especially if it's been getting dull lately? Now it's time to think about how can I make it exciting? Because Geminis, you get bored easily. It's time to think about new ways to make things exciting again. So that is what's coming about in the middle of April. Then also by the end of April, from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to be having Venus making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And this is where we're going to really start to beautify our future goals, our future dreams, where we're really starting to maybe beautify our career and thinking about new ways of making money and expanding in different ways and things like that. Then on April 29th, we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which is in your 8th house. Pluto going retrograde over here in the sign of Capricorn in the 8th house. This is endings and beginnings, and the 8th house is also endings and beginnings. They're very correlated together. So we're transforming old stuff that's no longer working for us, but we're transforming it and kind of renewing things. So there's some sort of renewal happening in your life with maybe the past versus the future. The 8th house can also deal with money, especially when it comes from like other people even. So maybe we're transforming our relationship with other people. This is also the area of like sex and things like that. So it can be transforming our relationship and how we view that. This can also be transforming our just like other stuff that we just have going on underneath, stuff that we have going on underneath the surface, unconscious things, subconscious things, our intuition even, where maybe we're starting to really think about like, there's maybe certain things that were clouding my intuition. Maybe I want to kind of like transform that, transmute that. Maybe you're wanting to transmute old ways of thinking, old ways of being, getting rid of the stuff that no longer serves you, that has been outdated. And now it's time to renew it, okay? So that's going to be going on. And then also on April 30th, we're having a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is your 12th house. This is when we're starting to realize like the 12th house is our mentality, old stuff from the past, old secrets that we've had, stuff that we just didn't want to bring to the surface that maybe we've repressed. Now it's time to clear that out. New moon is when we clear all those things out, and especially when it's a new moon solar eclipse, because a new moon solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun and blocks out the sun. The sun is our soul. That's why it's solar, soul. So the solar eclipse, our emotions come in front of our soul for a second. So it illuminates our old emotions. It illuminates old stuff that we've repressed so that we can clear it out. So old stuff that we were maybe in denial of, or we repressed it to try to forget about it, it is time to actually eradicate that and clear that out. So at the end of the month, there's going to be a huge purge of old stuff emotionally. In the sign of Taurus, this is going to be affecting our money, our old ways of using money and viewing money. This is our old ways of viewing the material world and how we maybe spent our money on material stuff, our material goals that we used to have. Stuff like that. So we might even be getting rid of like old stuff that was just clutter for us even mentally, because this is happening in our 12th house. So what are we really wanting to get rid of? Especially, you know, how we view the world and old stuff that we used to think and feel and act in. So we're renewing ourselves on all sorts of different levels. And the 12th house is also kind of maybe where we get self-critical, and our self-criticalness can kind of sometimes get in the way of our creativity. So if your self-criticism has been blocking your creativity, this new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus is also going to be transforming that so that you become more kinder to yourself. And so you also start to speak things to yourself that actually encourage you rather than discourage you. So that is also going to be happening at the end of the month. So with that being said, let's go ahead and shuffle some tarot cards to get any last info for our Geminis for the month of April. So let's see, Gemini, month of April, any last info? 8 of Wands being reversed. So where have we been going backwards? Because the 8 of Wands reversed. Maybe we're wanting to move forward on something, but we're needing to kind of like take a couple steps back for a second. Maybe we're needing to reevaluate something, or maybe we're needing to kind of just like pause for a second and think, where do I really want to aim for? What is my real goals? What do I want to shoot towards? Where do I want all of my movement to go towards? Maybe we're needing to reevaluate that. Or maybe we're realizing that we're stuck on something, because 8 of Wands being reversed can also be when we feel stuck because we don't know what to do or what the next step is. April is about kind of figuring out what is inspiring for you, right? Because that's also why we had all that 10th house stuff going on. What is inspiring to you, Gemini? Because that's what we want to aim for. But we need to get our inspiration back. We need to start maybe looking at what makes me feel really good, what makes me feel the best, and let's start to do those things. And sometimes it's hard to get out of old habits, and we keep doing our old habits even though they're no longer fulfilling us anymore. So maybe we keep turning on the TV and watching Netflix, but every time we do, we're like, wow, I just wasted so much time, and I wasn't even entertained by it. I used to love doing that, and that's why it's a habit, but now I'm not feeling it anymore, you know? Or we're like doing other things that we're just no longer feeling anymore, and it's making us feel stuck because we're sort of trapped in the habit of it, but we don't actually want to do it anymore, if that makes sense. So what are you still trapped in the habit of doing that you don't want to do? And what are you still trapped in the habit of not doing that you do really want to do? So for example, like, oh, I want to meditate more. I want to go to yoga more. I want to go for walks outside more, but I'm just in the habit of not doing that, so I don't end up ever doing it. But whenever I do it, it makes me feel so good, right? This is the month to start to change that and to start to go in those directions again, to create those things in your life. It's time to renew your life entirely so that you can get rid of the old habits, step into the new habits. So that's what we have going on for you, my lovely Geminis, for the month of April. Hope you enjoyed this reading. Again, don't forget to check out your other sun, moon, and rising signs to get the most all-encompassing view of your month of April. So happy to have you here, and I hope you have an amazing month, and hopefully I see you in my next video. Bye. All right, my lovely Cancers, welcome to your part of the April 2022 horoscope. Let's talk about what's going on for you. One thing I want to say off the bat, so many Cancers are getting into such a better mindset and such a better time of their life. So a lot of good things are starting to happen, and a lot of the harsher planets are finally moving out of Capricorn. We only have like Pluto left in there now, but before we had a lot going on in Capricorn. We had Saturn in Capricorn, we had Pluto there, we had a lot of stuff, and it was obviously opposing Cancer, and that was causing a lot of maybe like mental turmoil, causing a lot of like old endings and new beginnings, and purging old belief systems, old mindsets. Like, you know, it was a time. It was a time and a half. But so much more positivity has been coming up for Cancer, and it's moving into a much easier time. So first off, we start off the month of April, from April 4th to the 6th, we're going to be having Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. This is affecting your 8th house. So this is where we're starting to realize like old stuff that's no longer serving us anymore. This is also where we're realizing that maybe we want to get rid of some old stuff in our lives to make room for some newness. Maybe we're realizing like, hey, I really don't vibe with these old outfits anymore, or this old furniture, or like this old habit that I used to do. Maybe we're realizing I want new habits in my life, and I'm really kind of like sick and tired of like doing the same old, same old, same old. We're realizing that we want some transformation. And so the beginning of April, we're starting off realizing, hey, I want some transformation in my life, and maybe I want to break out of old molds, old routines, old habits, old restrictions, old barriers that maybe we've had on ourselves. We're realizing like, hey, that's not serving me anymore. I don't want that anymore. I want to transform these old barriers. I want to transform these old habits and routines into something new and make something new for myself, something to look forward to, something exciting that puts me in a better mental state. So we're starting off the month with that. And then on April 5th, we're going to have the planet of Venus moving into the sign of Pisces. This is going to be in your 9th house. So Venus moving over here, which is the planet of love and beauty and money, moving into the 9th house, we're starting to realize that we're realizing a new mindset is going to be our best friend. The 9th house is all about our philosophies, and Venus kind of beautifies any area that it transits. And so Venus transiting this area is helping us sort of beautify our mindset, our philosophy. It's bringing in more positivity within our mindset and our philosophy on life. This is also maybe where we're thinking about travel as well, because the 9th house is a huge house of travel. When we have Venus moving in here, maybe we're realizing, hey, I want to spend my money more in this area, or we're realizing, hey, I want to expand myself in new ways so that I can feel better and so I can get re-inspired too. So there's a big re-inspiration energy coming in with Venus moving into the sign of Pisces. And then from April 7th to the 17th, we're going to be having Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And this is really going to start to help us realize, what do I really want in my life? How do I want to expand? Jupiter is a sign of travel, and being in your 9th house of travel, a lot of Cancers might be thinking about, how do I want to escape my regular routine and maybe have a vacation for myself, or kind of like escape from, my everyday in a different way. Maybe we're thinking about different ways of like escaping and having like a sense of newness, how we can expand ourselves more into a new feeling, into sort of a new world as well. And then also from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to be having Venus making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces as well, which is of course in your 9th house. And so this is also when we're starting to realize, where do I want to spend my money? And we might have new ways of wanting to spend our money that are actually more inspiring to us, that make us feel better. And Neptune is kind of like where we're dreaming about, what does our fantasy future look like? And what mindsets help me get there and make me feel better and make me feel like I'm already living in a good world and things like that. So we're starting to realize and adopt more of those feelings, more of those mindsets. And we're also starting to think more about our future and how we can actually aim for something more. The 9th house is also where we're aiming. It's our goals, our trajectory, and how we're wanting to expand. Neptune is the planet of fantasy, and then Venus is the planet of love and beauty and money. We're starting to realize how we want to expand and how we want our future to really look, and how can we actually aim for that? How can we make those things happen? We're starting to think outside of the box and starting to think about ways of expanding into that. On April 29th, we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, which is in your 7th house. This is where we're starting to realize maybe where we have certain imbalances in our life. The 7th house is our imbalances, but it is also our interpersonal close relationships. Pluto moving through here might be where we're starting to realize that certain friends we're not really resonating with anymore. And Pluto is sort of, it rips away things that are no longer serving us. So we might realize that certain friendships are sort of falling out of our lives, while others are being amplified, because Pluto also amplifies what is serving us. So certain friendships are going to be very amplified, while other friendships and things like that might be diminished, or even close relationships. This could even be family members or like our actual partner, right? So we're starting to realize maybe there's certain aspects that are fading away and certain ones that are being amplified within our close relationships in our lives. So Pluto's going to really start to make this more apparent and highlight these areas of our lives as well. And it's going to be retrograde here for the next few months. So this is going to be happening for the next few months, is where we're going to start to kind of like realize these things. April 30th is going to be the new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is your 11th house. And the 11th house also deals with friendships, but more on like more of our just regular friendships, not like the super, super, super intimate ones, but just friendships. The new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is helping us realize maybe I think this is going to be closing out some old friendships as well as amplifying new friendships, because the new moon, which is the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse is going to be where newness is coming in. So there could be a really new important friendship that comes up, or there could be a renewing of an old friendship that comes up that makes it more amplified in your life, while also closing out ones that no longer serve you, ones that just haven't been keeping in contact with us anymore. It's just the things that are no longer serving us are just finding their way to like fall out of our lives, while the things that are really meant for us right now, the things that are serving us, are being amplified. So this is amplifying in your friendship house. And the new moon solar eclipse is also where we realize that certain emotions are coming to the forefront, because a solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun. And so the sun represents our soul, which is why it's solar, soul. So the sun represents our soul, the moon represents our emotions. Our emotions are coming to the forefront and being highlighted by the sun. And so they're being illuminated. They're being pushed to the forefront. So we're starting to really amplify certain emotions that we have, especially around friendships and the people that we have in our lives. This could even be coworkers, for example, and things like that. Our emotions are going to be pushed to the forefront so that we can finally deal with them and have like a rebirth and a renewal around our friendships. So the new moon solar eclipse is going to be a big ending and also a huge new beginning in this area. So that is what we have for our beautiful Cancers astrologically in the month of April. Now we're just going to shuffle these cards to get any last info for my Cancers. So what else does Spirit want Cancer to know for the month of April? Let's see. Ten of Wands here. Let's get one more card. And the Star. So these are the two cards we have for Cancer. What are we still holding on to that's no longer... Yeah, I mean, this kind of reiterates what we were talking about. What are we still holding on to that's no longer serving us? It's keeping us away from our like happy renewal with things that we'd be better off without. Things that we would literally be happier and freer without. What are we still holding on to that's literally holding us back from happiness and freedom? Because as you can see, he's like struggling here. He's not happy. But then all of a sudden she's without those things and she's like having a grand time, even though, you know, the nakedness of her shows that, you know, she doesn't have a lot, and she also just recently purged and shed a lot. But yet, even without those things, she's like living her life and she's like totally content and happy. She looks way happier than this guy. So I might be holding these backwards actually on the camera, but yeah. What do we need to let go of in order to step into our true authenticity, our true happiness? What are we also hiding? Because the Ten of Wands, we might be hiding behind something and hiding our authentic truth, whereas we would be liberated if we actually spoke and show our authentic truth. Sure, we might lose what we're carrying, but what we're carrying wasn't even that fun anyway, so what's the point? You know, this could be important conversations that we need to have with certain friends or coworkers that might seem like a huge burden, but it's actually going to free us in the long run. It's going to help us feel free again once we get rid of them. So what is currently a burden that you are carrying, Cancer? What is a burden that you're carrying right now that you would actually be better off without? We might be scared of the confrontation. We might be scared like, oh, but what if I lose that thing? Would you be sad to lose that? I wouldn't. I'd be pretty happy to lose all that weight. So even if you do end up losing something in the process, it's going to end up being a blessing for you. So what is that thing? What do we need to let go of? What do we need to get off our chest? This could even just be an emotion that we need to get off our chest, right? So that is what we have going on for Cancers. There's going to be a huge renewal, a huge freedom, a huge rebirth happening by the end of the month. So that is what we have going on for my lovely Cancers. I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. Again, make sure to check out your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get an over-encompassing view of your month of April. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye. All right, so my beautiful Leos, welcome to your part of the horoscope. We're going to start off April. From April 4th to the 6th, we're going to have Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius, which is going to affect your 7th house. This is where we're going to start to realize certain restrictions or boundaries that we might have on our certain relationships, upon the balance that we have in our life where we balance personal life with relationships, or maybe realizing that we have certain boundaries or restrictions, or we're needing to create other boundaries and restrictions to allow us more freedom in these areas, and to maybe also allow more time for the important people in our lives. So we're starting to realize maybe we need certain boundaries in certain places so we can have a balance of personal time as well as a balance of time for the important people. So we're needing to kind of balance that teeter-totter a little bit. Maybe we're needing to create certain boundaries in this area so that we can have a little bit more action, and so that we, so we can have a bit more harmony in those areas. So Leo, that is how we're starting off the month. We're realizing where we need to create more balance and more structure, more harmony, so that we can create more balance there. On April 5th, we're going to have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is in your 8th house. This is where we start to sometimes Venus in the 8th house transit can cause us to make unexpected money in unexpected ways, but it is also a time of like transforming beauty. It is also a time of transforming ourselves and how we view money, what we want to spend our money on versus what we don't want to spend our money on. We're going to be transforming ourselves in what we're attracted to. Maybe we're going to transform a big thing about our aesthetic or style, because a lot of the times whenever Venus transits the 8th house, we can make big personal shifts and style changes and things like that. And then from April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in your 8th house in the sign of Pisces. This can be where we unexpectedly benefit from the other people in our lives. Like maybe, somebody in our lives is going to like, hey, I have this extra ticket to this thing. Don't even worry about paying for it. Like, I'll totally bring you along or whatever. This is an area where we can greatly benefit from the other people that are in our lives unexpectedly. So we can maybe, gain some sort of like monetary benefit, or maybe some other sort of benefit that maybe we've been hoping for, and it randomly comes in through other means, like unexpected means outside of us. So this is where we can, again, unexpected money, unexpected help, unexpected assistance, but it is also a time where we're realizing possibly where we have certain issues that need to kind of be transformed when it comes to our expansion, our shared resources. Maybe we're realizing that there's certain shared things that maybe there's some tension with that we need to maybe transform, or realize that we need better boundaries around sharing or around what we freely give to other people, or having better balance with other people in our lives. So I'm definitely seeing some like things coming up where we need to kind of maybe create better boundaries with how we balance things. But there is also a lot of benefit coming in through different areas, unexpected benefit coming through. So that's going to be really positive and allow for some really positive things to kind of come in. And this is also where we start to expand what it is that we desire, and maybe our desires are sort of transforming in a certain way as well, because the 8th house is the house of transformation with Neptune and Jupiter both being here. Jupiter is a very positive planet, all about expansion. And then Neptune is a planet that's all about our fantasy world. And so we're starting to realize maybe our fantasies, maybe our desires are changing, because we're realizing, hey, I want more out of life. But in order to get to more out of life, we're needing to transform internally in some way. We're needing to create some changes in our life. And we're going to talk a bit more about that, because we also have Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn in your 6th house. Your 6th house is the house of routine and also the house of health. Pluto going retrograde over here is causing us to rethink and reevaluate our daily routine. Maybe our daily routine needs to change in order for us to get to the expansion that we're really desiring. Maybe we need to create different health choices in regards to maybe exercise or diet, to help us reach certain goals that we're wanting to reach, because maybe we're realizing like, hey, I can't really like get to my certain goal without putting in the work. without making time for it, without making myself feel good. Because sometimes when we're eating a bunch of junk food and a bunch of crap, we're not going to have the energy to do the things that we really want to do and have the energy to put towards our big goals, because we're spending all of our energy eating junk food that's making us feel tired and lazy. That's why it's called comfort food, because it helps us get rid of energy and it helps us feel relaxed. So when we feel super relaxed and we're also super full and our stomach is working super hard digesting bad food, we're not getting a lot out of it. We don't have a lot of energy to spend. So maybe realizing, hey, diet's going to play a big change. Our routine is going to play a big change. Maybe we're realizing, hey, I need to maybe wake up earlier so I have more time to do this and this that I really want to do, and all sorts of different things that play into this. Because your dreams are expanding. They're also transforming and transmuting. Maybe we're realizing the things that we used to want, we don't want that anymore. We've outgrown those things. We don't want that anymore. We want to change. We want to shift. And those change and shifts are coming through, and we're realizing that maybe we need to make some certain changes, which is why we have this beautiful Pluto transit that's going retrograde. It's going to be retrograde for quite a few months through your 6th house. So it is really time to rethink and reevaluate your schedules, your routines, and your health. Then on April 30th, at the end of the month, we're having a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is in your 10th house of career. This is renewing your thoughts on career, your big goals. 10th house doesn't always have to deal with career. It can also just deal with really big goals that we have. But most of the time it does deal with our career goals. New moon solar eclipse is when our emotions come to the forefront and get illuminated by the sun, because a new moon solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun and it eclipses the sun. And that is going to cause our emotions to get illuminated. The moon represents our emotions. Moving in front of the sun, which is our soul, which is why it's solar, same thing. It's moving in front of that. So our emotions are kind of coming to the forefront so that we can realize what we need to get rid of that's been holding us back emotionally, that's been blocking our soul from coming through. So our soul is going to be illuminating that by the end of the month. And our soul is going to really start to realize, like, hey, I really want to shine, but I'm realizing that these emotions are standing in my way. These old things that I'm hanging on to, these old belief systems, old past traumas that I'm still holding on to. We need to get rid of them if we're going to move towards our goals. Because once we heal that, we kind of remove what's been restricting us. There's certain things that have been restricting you. So it's time to get rid of that, right? And it's all up to you to kind of like illuminate that and allow it to leave, because it's obviously been hindering us. So this new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus is going to be so transformative for my Leos. This is also huge diet changes as well, because Taurus can rule a little bit around our diet. So this can also show us where we need to maybe make some big changes, maybe lifestyle changes, to allow us to get to our biggest goals that we've been really wanting to attain and to reach. So this is going to be a huge month, helping us start to reach for a better lifestyle, to get rid of the past, to let go of things that have been still kind of like blocking us emotionally. And right when we let go of that, we allow ourselves the freedom to renew our soul and allow our soul to come through and shine in a brand new way that's going to be really positive and transformative. So let's see. We're going to shuffle these cards to get any last info for my lovely Leos. So let's see what we get for our Leos. Ooh. There is something we need to walk away from. We need to steer in a better direction. If we've been kind of stuck in old ways of being that kind of made us feel like we're going through the rapids and our emotions are constantly like this and our lifestyle's constantly like this because of certain choices that we've been making, the month of April is asking us to move ourselves somewhere different. Maybe we've even been thinking about a move too, to be honest. Some of these transits can maybe even be causing us to desire to move somewhere new. This could either be emotionally or physically or mentally, or it could be all of the above. So we're realizing what old choices we've had, what old mentalities that we've had that have been causing us to kind of just go through life like that. And we're wanting it to be a bit more smooth. So if we're wanting it to be a bit more smooth, we're going to need some lifestyle changes. We're going to need to let go of some old attachments so that we can move forward in the way that we want to. So one last card that we have. Ooh, now we have the 6 of Coins being reversed. So 2 6s. 6s are all about harmony. So it's time for us to harmonize our life. And this is also about what are we spending our money on that we shouldn't be spending our money on? Where are we maybe letting our money just slip through our fingers? Maybe we're spending it on things that are completely unnecessary. Maybe we are so used to living a certain lifestyle that maybe we want to spend our money differently in order for us to reach maybe a certain goal. We're needing to spend our money more wisely, make wiser choices with our money and with our energy too, because this can also be like what we're feeding ourselves to, what we're accepting. So that is what we have here for Leos. Huge transformation coming up for the month of April. Lots of energy finally moving forward and lots of like reevaluating so that we can replan our lives to work better for us rather than against us. So that is what we have going on here for my lovely Leos. Lots of very positive transformation coming up in the month of April. So I'm very excited about it for you. Again, don't forget to watch your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more all-encompassing view of your month of April. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one, hopefully. Bye. All right, so my lovely Virgos, we start off the month from April 4th to 6th. We're going to have Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius in your 6th house. This 6th house area is all about work, healing, routines, health, all that kind of stuff. With Saturn and Mars over here, this is making a big emphasis on, different maybe lifestyle choices that we need in order to improve our health. This could be improving our mental health by rescheduling ourselves and making a bit more of a better structure that works for us better. This could be, your physical health, wanting to have a bit more of a plan when it comes to your diet, for example, or all sorts of things that fall under the areas of routine, health, work, all that kind of stuff. We're needing to kind of like reevaluate these things, create better boundaries in these areas, create better plans so that we can, reach the goals that we want to when it comes to our health or our work goals or physical goals, workout goals even, because the 6th house also is an area where it's associated with fitness and health in that way. So maybe we're having bigger goals and we're like, hey, in order for me to actually like do this and move ahead in this area, I'm gonna need to actually create like more structure, more boundaries, more routine in this area. So we start off the month like that, and then on April 5th, we're gonna have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces. It's moving from Aquarius into Pisces, so it's moving from your 6th house into your 7th house. And this is kind of where we're going to highlight different important relationships in our lives. Sorry, it's really loud. Basically, this is an area where Venus is the planet of love and beauty and money, and moving into your 7th house, this is where we're finding a little bit more balance and harmony in our close relationships. We might even realize that the month of April is full of like really beautiful times with the people that we really love. So maybe we're spending more time with those that we love. Maybe we're finding that the time that we are spending with the people that we love is just somehow enhanced. It's better. We're doing fun things. We're experiencing more love together and things like that. On April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in Pisces in your 7th house. And this is where we kind of begin to expand what we desire. And we're starting to realize, I desire this in my future and I want this. And in order for me to feel really good within my relationships and, the balance and harmony in my life, you're starting to realize what is most important to you, what goals that you have, what you really want to reach in this area. This is also a time of expansion of your relationships. So we might even be meeting other people or just getting deeper with certain people. And it's feeling really good, and it's expanding us in more ways, making us feel more fulfilled because we're getting deeper connections with those that we love, maybe even making deeper connections and making very deep connections with people that we didn't know that we're going to be that deep, right? So there's all sorts of expansion in this area. From April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune in the 7th house. And this is, again, amplifying all of those things once again. This can also be where we are making certain partnerships that help us bring in more abundance into our lives. This could be monetary abundance. This could even be abundance just in fulfillment in general, like feeling more love and things like that. So there's certain partnerships that are coming into our lives that are really amplifying the feeling of abundance in our life. At the end of April, on April 29th, we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn in your 5th house. So this is where we're realizing where we need to maybe make more time to have fun, or we're realizing that we're not having fun in the same ways that we used to, and we're needing to kind of like purge the old ways of having fun to bring in some new ways of having fun. Maybe we're realizing like our interests have been changing and transforming, and we're wanting to spend our time a little bit differently. We find that our desires are slightly different, and what makes us feel passion is slightly different as well. So maybe you're also realizing, hey, I perceive passion differently, and I need to be accommodated in that way in order for me to feel passionate, in order for me to feel inspired. So we're realizing like, hey, that's transforming, and it's time for me to kind of like figure out what inspires me lately? What makes me feel passionate lately? Because it's definitely different than it used to be, Virgo. Like all my Virgos, there's been some huge transformation in what is fun for you and where you find your creativity and passion. So with this Pluto retrograde that's going to be happening for the next few months, it's going to be helping you reevaluate and transform and amplify the things that are really fun to you, and also to help you sort of let go of the things that we're still maybe doing that aren't fun for us anymore. Like maybe we used to really like watching certain types of movies and we're like, they're just not hitting the same anymore. Maybe we're like, you know, very used to like spending our time in a very particular way, but it's just not fulfilling to us anymore. And we're needing to reevaluate and renew and redo. Then on April 30th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is in your 9th house. And this is going to be closing out old mindsets, old desires, old goals, old ways of feeling expanded, and just old philosophies, old ways of being. So a new moon solar eclipse is when the moon, which rules our emotions, moves in front of the sun and eclipses the sun, and the sun is our soul, which is why it's solar eclipse. That's the soul. The sun represents the soul. And so with our emotions moving in front of the sun gets to illuminate our emotions. And this is illuminating the emotions that no longer serve us. And when it's in the 9th house, this is big goals that we've really wanted to reach. This is our philosophies that we've had. So this is amplifying the emotions that have been on autopilot, that have maybe been keeping you restricted and keeping you small-minded and keeping you sort of in a box that you just don't want to be in anymore. It's like we're really wanting more freedom, because the 9th house is freedom. It's expansion of the mind, expansion of learning, wanting to just like be as big as possible and do as much as possible. So we're realizing what emotions have been keeping you maybe scared or fearful of that, fearful of moving into your potential, fearful of moving into your purest expansion of you, so that you can expand your soul to the depths of the universe and become anything that you've ever desired. What emotions are stopping you from that? Is it this feeling of unworthiness? Is it a feeling of I'm scared to do that because what if I run into problems, or what if like I run into something that I don't want to experience, or like, you know, certain fears that might come up and things like that. This new moon solar eclipse is helping you amplify and start to recognize those emotions so that you can finally get rid of them, so that you can blossom and become the soul that you really want to be, so that your soul can finally flourish, because your emotions have been stopping your soul in some way when it comes to your expansion and your philosophies and your mindset. There's certain emotions that have been stopping your soul and standing in front of your soul, restricting it from becoming what it really wants to be. And this new moon solar eclipse, all the new moon solar eclipses, the solar eclipses, they're so powerful because solar eclipses are all about amplifying what emotions have been holding your soul back, that have been restricting your soul. Your soul wants to just shine. What's holding you back? That's going to be amplified at the end of April in order for it to be transmuted and transformed into something that does serve you, into, you know, getting rid of the old emotions so that your soul can shine fully. So that is what's going to be going on during the month of April for my lovely Virgos. We're going to go ahead and shuffle these tarot cards to get any last info. Let's see, we got a lot of cards going on here. So we start off with the Lovers. So this makes sense since we have so much 7th house stuff going on for Virgo. So this talks about partnership. This is amplifying who do you really love? Who do you really get along with? Also, this is amplifying to start to recognize in your life Who do you really want to be close to? Who inspires you the most versus who kind of brings you down? Who are your real friends, Virgo? Who do you want to be like? Who inspires you? Who uplifts the best in you versus who validates your insecurities? Who validates your negative emotions? Who keeps you stuck in the same old version of you that you don't want to be? Sometimes, there's an interesting saying, misery loves company. Our misery loves to find company to connect to because we feel like we're not alone in our misery, which can be a good thing temporarily because we don't feel alone. But at the same time, it's not good to stay there. Sometimes we build connections based off of misery and they feel so good because they validate us for where we are, but they don't help us transform out of that. They don't help us become the best version of ourselves. They help us stay in the same old, which again, misery loves company. Misery likes to stay. Misery doesn't want to go. This month might actually amplify to you what relationships are very positive that try to bring out the best in us, what relationships are like, hey, I see the absolute best in you. I want you to be your best, versus what relationships are like, oh, I'm going through the same shitty thing too. Let's just sulk in it together. Let's cry about it together. Like, they're both healing in their own way, but there's one that you do not want to get stuck in. And the one that you don't want to get stuck in is the sulking one, the sad one, the misery one. You don't want to get stuck there. So what relationships do you really want to connect to that help you become the best version of you? We also have the Ace of Pentacles here. So Ace of Pentacles is setting a new foundation for yourself. What new foundation do you want? Do you want the foundation of like misery loves company? Or do you want the foundation of like somebody who inspires you, who's like, I see the best in you and I see that you could do this, and that inspires you to go for it, to do your best? Who are those people? Maybe it's time for us to amplify that, and that's why we have all this 7th house stuff happening for Virgo. We also have the 6 of Swords being reversed, so which direction do we want to go in? Do we want to stay where we are and stay in the muddled like blah? Or are we wanting to move to the positive, clearer waters? What direction do you want to go in? Because April is going to be transformative. Let me tell you, Virgos, like, this is a month of transformation. If you want to transform your life and you want to get into the clearer waters rather than the blah waters, now is the month to do it. But you better be sure and be clear, who are you surrounding yourself by? What emotions are these people amplifying within you? Are they amplifying the negativity, or are they amplifying the positivity? Maybe it's time for us to remove ourselves a little bit from the people who keep amplifying the same old story for us and move more towards the people who amplify the new story that we want to be living. We also have the 6 of Coins being reversed here. And this card is our balance. Look at it. Are we wanting to stay down here? Or are we wanting to be up here? Which one are we wanting to be? Do we want to be the giver? Do we want to be the taker? It's important to have a balance of both, actually, but I think what this is kind of signifying is, what side of the spectrum do you want to be on? Do we want to be on the side of the spectrum where we're like, oh, woe is me, these problems are really hard? Or do we want to be on the side of the spectrum where we're like, I can overcome anything, I can do anything, I got this? Like, what side of the spectrum do you want to be on? So that's kind of what's coming up here for Virgos. That was a little intense kind of like ending right there, but I think like this month can be so positive for transformation into the right direction. And you can use all those examples that I gave metaphorically, because they might apply to your life in different ways, right? So this could even apply to your life in just the way of like, what do I feel like I'm worthy of? You're worthy of whatever it is that you desire. Do you want the biggest of dreams? You can have that. You can. But which side of the spectrum are you going to align yourself to this month? So that is what we have going on for Virgo in the month of April. Hope you enjoyed this horoscope. My Virgos, you have the potential to do and be anything. Virgos are so magical. They're one of the most magical signs of the zodiac. So you can do and be anything, okay, Virgo? Sending you all my love. Hope you enjoyed this horoscope. Don't forget to check out your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get an all-encompassing view of your month of April. And hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye. All right, my lovely Libras, welcome to your part of the horoscope for the month of April. So we start off the month of April from April 4th to the 6th. We're going to be having Mars making a conjunction with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, which is in your 5th house. These two planets bring out kind of like the areas that we need to maybe like fix in order to begin moving forward again, the areas where we maybe need more boundaries and we need to stand our ground a little bit more. And the 5th house is the house of having fun, self-expression, enjoyment, dating, things like that. With Mars and Saturn right here, maybe we're realizing, hey, I need to stand my ground a little bit more on what it is that I really like, the things that I really want to do with my life. But maybe we're also needing to bring about more responsibility, because Saturn's also responsibility. Maybe we're needing to take more responsibility in our lives in order to create more balance of being able to have fun. You know, we need to be responsible about, for example, our money. If we want to have fun, we need to be responsible about work and the balance of that. You know, maybe we're also needing to create more boundaries within our dating life or within our fun life, so that we can like have a good balance between fun versus responsibility versus work and things like that. Maybe we're also realizing that we're maturing in different ways as well, because Saturn is also an area where we're maturing, and with Saturn transiting the 5th house, we might be maturing and growing out of old things that we used to find fun, and we're like, I don't really resonate with that anymore. I kind of want to go off and do something a little bit different now. So this is where we're realizing that maybe we're needing more boundaries, where we're needing to close out old chapters of our lives. Maybe we're realizing that we need to have certain conversations around maybe dating and you know, that kind of stuff. Maybe we need more responsibility between like our dating life versus our work life, things like that. We need to bring in a little bit more, I don't know, just responsibility over here. But this is also a time of like allowing your creativity to shine, but like perfecting it a little bit more. So maybe we're realizing like, hey, I want to perfect my creativity a little bit more, my craft more. I want to become better at it. So maybe we're even inspired to learn a little bit more around our craft and our artsiness and our things that we enjoy, our hobbies and stuff. On April 5th, we're going to have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is in your 6th house. When Venus moves over here, Venus in the 6th house, I always look at that as like working out and exercise, because Venus is the planet of like beauty and also love and money. And then the 6th house is kind of like our health and it's also the house of fitness, work and healing, stuff like that. And also schedules and routine. So this might be an area where we start to focus a little bit more on our diet and our exercise and wanting to become healthier, wanting to kind of like focus on this area, become better, and maybe focus a little bit more on our exercise, or wanting to kind of like beautify ourselves in the way that we look and like make things feel a little bit more fun, more aesthetic and exciting. This is also where we might want to beautify our schedule and routine a little bit more, so that we are reaching our goals that we want to reach, so that we feel like we can have more time for fun, so we can feel like our schedule feels exciting to us rather than taking up all of our day. Depending on how we schedule certain things, it can sometimes feel like our schedule is working against us or working for us. And so in the beginning of April, we might be kind of like refiguring out how we want to spend our time. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to be having Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in your 6th house in the sign of Pisces. And this is going to be where we decide that we maybe want to expand in certain ways when it comes to our health and our schedule and our time, where we're wanting to maybe find more ways of just like expanding our time. How can we have more time for ourselves? How can we fill up our time with more things that we love, so that we can reach for more, so that we can feel like we're becoming more rather than just living the same day over and over again? I think a lot of Libras are like, I want to become more, I want to do more, I want to expand that area. So how can we redefine or reschedule this ourselves so that we feel like we're expanding in new ways, so we feel like we're adding more into our lives and doing more? I think that there's also going to be some like dreamy creativity around your work, or some dreamy creativity around what it is that you desire to do, or things that you want to spend more time on, because Neptune is the planet of like fantasy, our dreams, what we want to bring in more of. So we're discovering like, hey, what do I want to, I don't know, amplify my life with? What do I want to bring more of into my life? And what do I want my future to really look like? And how can I start implementing a path now so that I can start to begin to attain that goal? So I can see it as like, yes, I'm creating that into my life now. Also, from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to be having Venus making a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces in your 6th house. And these two planets coming together are going to maybe amplify like, hey, I want to start making more money. How can I make more money? How can I bring in more of that into my life? Because Venus is the planet of money. Your 6th house is the area of work and putting time in to make money, things like that. So these two being conjoined with the planet of Neptune, we're getting really creative on like, how can I make more money? How can I like expand myself in new ways? How can I make my dreams a reality here? How can I make some of my big goals that I've had more physical goals? How can I bring them into the physical world? How can I make these ideas physical? So we might start be getting very creative around the end of the month and also desiring to maybe make more money in different ways. On April 29th, we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn in your 4th house. It's been transiting the 4th house for a while now, and it's going retrograde for the next few months in your 4th house. So this is going to be where we start to realize different things that we need to transform in our home life. The 4th house is our roots and our home life. So what do we need to maybe transform in this area so that we can get rid of things that are no longer serving us? This could be old boundaries that are no longer serving us in our home life. This could be like getting rid of like old routines and schedules in our home life that are no longer serving us. It's sort of like reevaluating our home life because it's a time that we're maybe desiring to transform it in some way. And I think over the next few months, a lot of Libras will have their home life transform in a certain way because Pluto helps us get rid of things that are no longer serving us, things that we've outgrown, and helps us transmute those into things that are working for us, into new things that are blessings. It brings out blessings in these areas. And so Libras, in the next few months, you might notice certain things are falling apart in your home life, but it's actually going to end up being a very big blessing for you in the end, because Pluto always has a plan and always has a blessing waiting at the end of a very transformative time. So at the end of the month, we're going to have a really special time. On April 30th, we're about to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Okay, and this is like the moon, it represents our emotions. The sun represents our soul, which is why it's called soul. It's connected to the soul. And so the new moon solar eclipses are when the moon moves in front of the sun and blocks out the sun, but the sun is amplifying. So your soul is basically like amplifying your emotions at that time and showing what is no longer working for us and what is blocking our soul. So this is a time where we're realizing which emotions have been blocking our soul from fully shining. When this is happening in your 8th house, we're realizing that maybe certain things around, so the 8th house is about transformation, sex, money, and attachments to other people, things that we share between other people like money and resources and things like that. So we're starting to realize certain things around that have been restricting us. And this is helping us realize where we're maybe emotionally attached to those things and things that we want to get rid of in our life so that our soul can fully shine. And this is all dealing with things around shared resources, sex, big transformations, and underlying unconscious kind of stuff that is going to be coming to the surface to help us transmute and transform those, because we're realizing there's certain stuff that's just not working for us anymore that has been hindering our expansion. It's been hindering our soul from fully being itself. Maybe we're being restricted in certain ways by other people, because the 8th house can be secret ways that other people might be hindering us or blocking our soul. So by the end of the month, those things are going to be bubbling up to the surface in order for us to realize them so that we can transform them, so that we can let go. Because the new moons, solar eclipses, they're a huge change. Solar eclipses are a massive change. And since it's a new moon, it's a new beginning. So there's going to be a whole new beginning in this area where we're getting rid of the old. We're changing the old so that it can finally serve us rather than restrict us. So that is what is happening for Libras in the month of April. So now we're going to shuffle the tarot cards to get any last info. Let's see. Ooh. We have the 7 of Cups. So there's a lot of options for Libras. Or Libras, this can be where we're like, oh, what do I want to do next in my life? But I don't want to choose wrong. Because the 7 of Cups is where we don't want to pick the wrong outcome. And maybe we're constantly thinking about, what's the outcome of that? What's the outcome of that? Which is the right path for me? I'll tell you the secret. Any path is the right path, as long as we're putting the right energy towards it. if we're putting the right energy towards it, that dictates what the outcome is going to be. Because however you go about something is sort of like a boomerang. It's also what you get back. So if, for example, like having a conversation, whatever emotion you put out is the emotion that's going to be perceived and then received back to you from the other person. So if you're starting a conversation like super angry, like, oh my God, blah, 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 that's probably most likely going to be the response that you also get back, is super angriness. Like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, it's going to be also that same intensity most of the time, unless somebody's super conscious and very conscious and aware of what they're reflecting back. But most of the time, whatever you put out, you get back. So if you're worried about what your outcome is going to be based on whatever option that you choose or whichever path that you go down, because maybe you're thinking about making some changes, whatever energy that you go about something in is the energy that you get back. So if you go into something fearing the outcome, and you're like, I'm so scared, what if everything goes wrong? What if everything goes wrong? What if everything goes wrong? And if that's your core belief, is like, things always go wrong for me, if that's your core belief, that's going to get reflected back to you. And no matter what path you choose, that outcome is going to get reflected back to you. But if you enter something and maybe you're just like, I don't know if things are going to go wrong, but I have this core feeling that it's just going to work out. I know deep down inside it's going to work out and I'm going to get the best outcome. I feel it deep down inside. And sure, I have certain worries that come up because that's natural too. But like the core feeling is like things are going to be okay. That is what's going to get reflected back to you. It's that core belief. It's the core anchor. That's going to be what gets reflected back to you. And that's going to be what ends up getting created. So Libras, if you're wanting the best outcome, and then the last card we have is the King of Pentacles. If you're wanting to create the most solid future for yourself, you have to go about it with the energy of creating that solid future and knowing like, I'm creating a very solid future for myself. And any time that you act and you take action from that place, from that emotion, that is what is going to get reflected back to you. And that's going to be what gets created in your life. So lots of transformation going on for my Libras in the month of April. I hope that last little bit made sense there. I hope that like caught on. So yeah, that's what we have going on for my lovely Libras. I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. Again, don't forget to check out your other sun, moon, and rising signs to get the best over-encompassing view for your month of April. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye. All right, so my lovely Scorpios, welcome to your part of the horoscope. From April 4th to the 6th, we're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. This is going to be in your 4th house. Both of these different planets moving through the 4th house can cause some realizations around our home life that maybe we need more boundaries around our home life. Maybe we're needing to take a little bit more responsibility around our home life as well. Maybe we're just wanting to like step things up a little bit, make them a little bit different because we're realizing that maybe there's some things that maybe we want to change around our home life. Maybe some certain dynamics that need to be transformed in certain ways where maybe we just we're wanting to either have more responsibility, set more proper boundaries so that our responsibility is actually set in certain areas and like, we're not feeling like things are kind of like in a disarray. So this is kind of just like getting a little bit more, clear on what we want our home life to be like so that we can return things back to something that's a little bit more comfortable and reliable and stable. Around April 5th, we're going to be having Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, and this is in your 5th house. And when Venus moves into the 5th house, this is causing really good things, to be honest. Like Venus in the 5th house is really positive, and it brings out a time of like figuring out, what do I really want to do? How do I want to spend my time? And maybe it's realizing, hey, I want to spend my time doing more things that I love rather than like working all the time, rather than doing all sorts of other things. So, this is basically where we realize that we want to spend more time doing the things that we love. This can also be a time where we focus more on dating and having a little bit more romance or more passion. This can be focusing on your passions more, either romantically or within things that you just love to do, things that you love to spend your time doing. So this is moving more energy towards that. Also from April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in your 5th house in the sign of Pisces. And this is a time of like a lot of creativity and realizing that you want to expand yourself in more ways. So I think a lot of Scorpios are going to go through a time of wanting to expand themselves creatively, immerse themselves deeper into their creative things, expand their creative things in new ways, exploring new ways of expanding that. This can also be expanding your dating life too, especially if that's something that is relevant for you at this time, because the 5th house does sometimes also correlate with dating and stuff like that, or, relationships and passion. April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune. And this is bringing about like more beauty and more fun. Like, how can we just like make life more exciting and more enticing, more passionate, something that we really just want to immerse ourselves in, something that we really want to do. So this is bringing out more of that energy near the end of April. Like, what do I really love to do? And how do I spend more of my time doing those things? And how do I create more of that into my future as well? Because Neptune is the planet of our fantasy life. With Venus conjuncting it, it's like, how can we beautify our fantasy life? How can we make it more exciting? How can we expand it more? In the 5th house of fun and dating and passion and excitement, this is amplifying that even more. So we're really starting to realize what it is that we really love to do and how we can spend more time putting our energy towards those pursuits and towards those areas. On April 29th, we're going to have Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn in your 3rd house. This is when we kind of realize that we maybe need to reevaluate our friendships. Maybe there's certain friendships that we're not really feeling anymore. They're not really serving us any purpose anymore. But then there's other ones that are going to be amplified because Pluto is this transformational planet where it helps us realize what is no longer serving us versus what is really serving us. So it amplifies all the things that are really serving us and usually gives us beautiful blessings in these areas, but also takes away the things that are no longer serving us. In the 3rd house, this deals with our friendships. This deals with interests that we have, like learning, learning and friendships and communication. So what sort of communication are we still keeping open that's just not serving us anymore? And it's not offering us anything and it's not going anywhere. And we know that it's just pointless because those things, it's time to just let them go. It's time to let it go. And Pluto's also going to be amplifying the relationships that do serve a deep purpose for us. And it's going to be amplifying those a lot more in our lives. And Pluto's going to be retrograde here for the next few months. This is going to be happening over the next few months. And Pluto's going to be kind of like having this energy and effect on your life over the next few months. On April 30th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is in your 7th house. So new moon solar eclipses are when the moon, which rules our emotions, moves in front of the sun, and the sun is solar, it's connected to our soul. The sun is a representation of the soul. So when our emotions move in front of the sun, which is the soul, it amplifies and the sun illuminates our emotions and the certain emotions that have been blocking our soul from fully shining. So being in your 7th house, this is where we're realizing maybe we're letting our relationships kind of overshine us. Maybe there's certain relationships in our lives where we're allowing them to sort of maybe outshine us or sort of like dampen our energy, or sort of where we feel like we can't fully be ourselves, where we feel like we need to sort of repress certain parts of ourselves in order to please other relationships in our lives, or different things like this. This could even be relationships from the past. Also, I want to mention Pluto retrograde in the 3rd house can also bring up people from our past. So people from your past might be coming back up over the next few months. But yeah, anyway, back to the solar eclipse. This is causing us to realize where we might be compromising ourselves in lieu of other people. So this is helping us become aware of that so that we can stop doing that, so that we can let go of that, so we can allow our soul to fully shine, because your soul wants to fully shine, and solar eclipses help us realize what has been dampening us. So maybe we have certain emotional fears, certain emotions that are like, oh, I fear, fully being myself because I fear judgment, or I feel fully being myself because of this. So those emotions are going to be amplified at the end of the month in order for us to realize that we need to heal that, so that we can allow our soul to fully shine once again. So that is what the solar eclipse is leaving us off with at the end of the month. It's going to be very transformative in very many beautiful ways. So with that being said, let's go ahead and shuffle these cards to get any last info for my lovely Scorpios for the month of April. These cards are not wanting to shuffle. Let's see. Scorpios in April, let's see. Ooh, 3 of Cups. So who do we really enjoy spending our time with? Who really resonates with us? Who uplifts us? Who do we relate to that we feel is actually like serving us? There might be other relationships where it feels like we're constantly just giving to them, or it feels like they're constantly just taking from us and we don't get anything in return. Not that we need to expect things in return, but If there's certain relationships that really just drag us down all the time and they're constantly doing that, then what's the point, right? What's the point of having them? So I think relationships, again, that's just a confirmation that relationships are going to be a huge focus for Scorpio, and realizing who is actually on your level. And it's not saying that anyone's above or below, but who do we actually really resonate with that amplifies our energy rather than diminishes our energy, right? Because if we're having relationships that are diminishing, it's like we could obviously find somebody better, and they could probably obviously find somebody that more resonates with them too, right? So let's see. What else do we have going on for Scorpio? Any last information for Scorpio? Get Empress. Empress has shown up a couple times now in this video. So Empress energy. Who do you really want to be? What makes you actually feel really good? This is getting in touch with your creativity. This is also Venus energy, which we were talking a lot about Venus in the reading because it's making a lot of aspects. It's moving into the sign of Pisces. So Venus making another presence for Scorpio. What do you love doing? What makes you feel at your best? What makes you feel like a goddess or, you know, whatever, right? What makes you feel that way? Because now it's time to amplify those things in your life and to start putting more focus on that and on the people that make you feel that way too, rather than drag you down. So that is what we have here for Scorpio for our amazing month of April. I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. Again, don't forget to check out your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more accurate, all-encompassing horoscope for the month of April. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye. All right, so my lovely Sagittariuses, welcome to your April horoscope. So we start off April from April 4th to the 6th. We're going to be having Mars making a conjunction over to Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. This is going to be affecting your third house. Whenever we have these two planets together, they kind of really amplify where we have certain boundaries and restrictions, and also where we need to create certain boundaries and restrictions. So being in the third house, this is the house of learning and communication and friendships. So maybe we're starting to realize that we desire to have certain boundaries in our communication. Like, we don't want to feel like our energy is being sucked by other people anymore, that we feel obligated to always like give like deeper responses, or we feel like we always constantly need to like, you know, people please or other things like that. So that is an energy that's going to be amplified in the beginning of April, so that we can finally set proper boundaries, and we're like, you know what, I don't want to spend my energy doing that. I don't want to overspend my energy doing that. You know, we're realizing like, what do we want to spend our time actually doing, especially when it comes to listening and speaking and people pleasing. That is going to be amplified. We're setting up proper boundaries in this area so that we can actually spend our energy more wisely on the things that we're actually interested in, and no longer feeling like we're getting drained in those areas. On April 5th, we're going to be having Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is your fourth house. The fourth house is our home life, and Venus moving into this area, it's going to help us feel like maybe we want to redecorate our home. Whenever Venus is like transiting the fourth, I always feel like whenever Venus is transiting my fourth, I feel like redecorating my house. And since I'm a Sagittarius rising, that's exactly what's about to happen for me in April, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, when Venus moves in here, sometimes this is where we feel like redecorating our home, because Venus is the planet of beauty and also love and also money. Being in the fourth house, this is maybe where we're starting to realize, hey, I want to save more money. And this is might be a month where we're realizing like we have the opportunity to do that, or we have the opportunity to invest our money in different ways. This can also be, again, where we're redecorating our home, where we're wanting to make it more beautiful, more aesthetic, more pleasing, more loving. This can also be where we want to root ourselves deeper in the feeling of love. We want to bring out more of that into our lives. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter making a conjunction with Neptune in your fourth house in the sign of Pisces. And these two are helping you expand your home life. So Jupiter transiting the fourth house is going to help you expand your home life in some way. So maybe we're expanding our foundation, maybe we're expanding our money, maybe we're expanding something where our home life somehow feels larger or bigger, or we're also starting to think about what we want to manifest, because being in conjunction with Neptune, we might be thinking like, hey, what do I really want in my home life? What is that going to really look like in my future? And how do I start to move towards that? Because Jupiter is going to help us expand those dreams. We're expanding our dreams and realizing what's actually possible for us within our home life, within our roots, within our foundation. From April 27th to 28th, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune as well in the 4th house. And this is going to really help us start to make those dreams a reality. So these dreams are going to start to look more tangible by the end of the month. And we're going to start to realize, hey, I'm starting to realize how I can actually make that happen. I'm starting to realize how my home life is actually going to end up becoming what I really desire it to be. And trust me, if you're in alignment, Sagittarius, in the month of April, being in alignment with what you want in your home life, that's going to start manifesting in your life. So a lot of Sagittarius might be going through some home life transformations or desiring to transform their homes in some way, all sorts of stuff like that. Their foundation, you are getting it more in alignment with you in the month of April. April 29th, we're going to have Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn, which is your 2nd house. So this is reevaluating your money, reevaluating your finances, reevaluating how you spend your money, reevaluating how you feel comfortable. So we're starting to realize, I feel comfortable better when I have this amount in my bank account. So I want to start to make that my new threshold. Or I want to start to balance myself out in another way of feeling more comfortable. Maybe I feel more comfortable when I'm surrounded by blank, whatever. The 2nd house is also our diet too. So this can also be where we're realizing that certain foods don't really resonate with us anymore, and we're needing to kind of change up our diet so that we feel more resonant with certain foods and we feel more better with them. So the 2nd house can also be where we realize that we're changing up those certain aspects as well. And Pluto's going to be retrograde here for the next few months. So this is going to be a process that's taking place through the next few months. Then on April 30th, we're going to have a massive shift and change for all the signs. We're having a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is your 6th house. Whew. New moon solar eclipses, those are intensely beautiful. They bring out huge change. So essentially, a solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun and blocks out the sun. And the sun represents our soul, which is why it's solar. It's our soul. It's representative of our soul. And the moon represents our emotions. So when our emotions move in front of the sun, our soul begins to amplify certain emotions and starts to illuminate certain emotions that no longer serve us. Being in your 6th house, this is going to be certain emotions when it comes to your work ethic. How often are you working? Are you busting your back? Are you being lazy in certain ways, or are you working too hard? This is where we're going to start to realize how our emotions are kind of affecting our work life and our routines, and how we maybe want to change that up. So our emotions might have been blocking us in certain ways. Maybe our emotions, this could even be connected to the past too, because the 6th house is deep healing. So maybe there's certain emotional aspects that we need to let go of so that we can heal, so that our soul can fully shine again. Maybe we've been feeling like we've been working way too hard and we've been burning ourselves out. And if so, this new moon solar eclipse is going to help illuminate that emotion that feels like it needs to do that. And it's going to show hey, you don't need to do that. Maybe we can change up that routine to be a little bit more comfortable, especially because it's in the sign of Taurus, which is the sign that loves to be comfortable. So now we're starting to illuminate which emotions aren't allowing us to feel comfortable, so that we can finally transform those emotions to bring us back to feeling comfortable, so we can feel comfortable again. So that is what we have going on in the month of April for my lovely Sagittariuses. It's going to be beautiful, transformative. It's going to work out for your highest good and highest benefit. So now we're going to shuffle the tarot cards to get any last info on this reading. So let's see, my lovely Sagittariuses, what do we got going on? We have the 4 of Cups. So where do we feel like we're maybe looking at the lack? There's an aspect of you that's had the lack mindset. There's something going on in your life where maybe you've been feeling like we're too focused on what we do not have, or we're too focused on, we're kind of focused on the negatives, maybe the negatives of the past too. Whereas if we change our focus, we realize that there's an opportunity waiting for us. April is the month where we're realizing that the opportunity was there all along, and we didn't need to focus on the bad. We didn't need to sulk in the negativity of something, because there was a beautiful opportunity right there. And if you change your focus in April, that opportunity is going to come right out for you. And I bet a lot of Sagittariuses is opportunities around your home life, since we have a lot going on in your 4th house. Or this opportunity can be around your work ethic and how often you're working versus not. So this is a new opportunity coming up for you. We also have the Emperor being reversed here. So this can be amplifying where we can realize our worth and what we're really worthy of. So maybe there's an opportunity here around realizing that, like, once you realize, like, hey, I'm really worthy of what I desire. And then we realize, hey, I can actually have that. And we have the star here. So this is maybe realizing that there's an opportunity in certain things not working out for you. There's actually an opportunity in it. So yeah, actually looking at all of these 3 cards, there's something that might have recently not worked out for you or is about to maybe not work out for you, but it's actually a blessing in disguise because there's something that's way more meant for you. There's something that is way more meant for you, Sagittarius. And it is going to be amazing. It is going to bring you exactly where you need to be. At first, it's going to feel like a loss, but it's bringing you a blessing, an absolute blessing. And you'll see why as it moves along. And it's going to be, I think, a little bit different for every Sagittarius out there, but it is going to be a blessing in disguise. Trust me on that. The star card is one of the best cards in the deck, and it talks about be hopeful even in the times where it feels like you've just got stripped away of something that you've built up, something that you've always wanted. Even when you get stripped away of that and you feel like you have nothing, keep having hope because the best thing is yet to come. That is what the star card means. And the star card is a very positive card. It means that something way better is waiting for you. So don't feel like you lost out. Something way better is coming. So that is what we have here for my lovely Sagittariuses. I hope you enjoyed your horoscope for the month of April. Be sure to check out your sun, moon, and rising signs to get the most all-encompassing horoscope for the month of April for you. And hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye. All right, so my lovely Capricorns, welcome to your part of the horoscopes. We start off April from April 4th to the 6th. We're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, which is your 2nd house. So this is putting an emphasis on money and comforts. It can also put an emphasis on diet as well, because sometimes that's also kind of like 2nd house stuff. But with Saturn and Mars here, this is realizing that maybe we want to have more boundaries and we're taking more responsibility for our money, our finances, also our diet, and we're wanting to kind of like make things a little bit better, make things a little bit more stable, make things a little bit more, have structure and boundaries to this area, which will actually end up allowing us more freedom. So we start off the month kind of focusing a little bit more on money and how maybe we want to restructure our spending habits or other financial things that are kind of going on for us. We're wanting to have a little bit more solidity and security in this area in order to allow us to feel like we have more freedom. So there's going to be a little bit of that and possibly even a slight focus around diet as well, and maybe changing that up because 2nd house can sometimes deal with that as well. On April 5th, we're going to have Venus move into the sign of Pisces, which is your 3rd house. And this is going to amplify friends, which I notice a lot of Capricorns have been amplifying like friends throughout the past like few months. And the 3rd house is our friends and also our interests and learning and new things kind of coming up into our lives that we're like interested in. So with Venus moving over here, we could get interested in some new hobbies. We might get interested in seeing friends more, socializing more, or having new interests that are sort of piquing our curiosity that we feel like maybe researching or reading. 3rd house can deal with reading, researching things, learning something new, studying something, getting interested, like your interests are getting piqued by something, and it could even be getting piqued by new people as well in your life, or just, you know, socializing more and things like that. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces, which is your 3rd house. And this is also, again, expanding your friendship group, expanding your knowledge, your interests. This could even be short travel for some of you. So some Capricorns, there could be some opportunities for like quick road trips here and there, or like some other like little travel things going on in the month of April. Just because Jupiter and the 3rd house kind of both deal with that. And since they're both sort of there together, they're working their magic, and it can create some expansion in those ways. So maybe we're even making travel plans for the future, things like that. Then from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 3rd house. And this is also expanding more of that friendship, more of those interests, more of those knowledge, things that were kind of like that are piquing our curiosity. So now we're spending more time, again, socializing or doing things that are piquing your curiosity some more, that we're just learning more, that we want to get deeper into. New hobbies are coming out, new interests and things like that. On April 29th, we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn in your first house. When Pluto goes retrograde, it sort of has us reevaluate certain things, and Pluto's the planet of transformation, deep transformation. In your first house, you know, it's transiting the sign of Capricorn, and since you are a Capricorn, this is going through some major self-reevaluation, like who am I? Who do I really want to be? What do I see my future being for myself? All sorts of things like that. So this is starting to dig up in you what no longer serves you, different personality traits that you have that no longer serve you, different parts of yourself that just we want to let go of, that are no longer feeling like we resonate with. So you're going to be going through huge self-transformation, and Pluto's going to be going retrograde here for the next few months. So this is going to happen over the next few months, where we're starting to let go of different aspects of ourselves in order to transform into something new. So you might even be realizing, by having new interests and also hanging around new people and socializing more, you are going to be going through some major transformation where you're realizing like, hey, my old ways of being don't really resonate with me anymore. Maybe you're starting to resonate with different people in your lives. And because you're seeing new people more and expanding your mind more, because the third house is also expanding your mind, it's going to cause a lot of transformation for you. And you're going to start to realize that there's a lot of ways that you desire to change, and you don't want to be that old self anymore. You're becoming more aware, and you're letting go of the old unconscious parts of yourself and becoming a lot more conscious and transforming yourself into who you really desire to be, and the person that really serves you, that has the capability of achieving what you really desire to achieve. On April 30th, we're going to have a new moon eclipse. So exciting, solar eclipse. So this is going to happen in the sign of Taurus in your 5th house. So a new moon solar eclipse is essentially when the moon, which represents our emotions, moves in front of the sun, and the sun represents our soul, which is why it's solar eclipse, like getting eclipsed, our soul, by the emotions. And so this is when our soul, the sun, begins to illuminate the moon, which is our emotions. So our soul is starting to illuminate certain emotions that are no longer serving us in order for them to be transformed and changed. All solar eclipses are huge transformations on a soul and emotional level. And this is, of course, solar eclipses happen during a new moon, and a new moon is when new energy comes out. So this is going to be a huge time where we're starting to realize different emotions that we have around maybe having fun, what we used to see as fun, or what we used to see as our old passions, or certain emotions that maybe we had, like maybe we've had certain limiting emotions on our ability to have fun. Maybe we've had certain limiting emotions that have been holding us back from fully just opening our heart and being a fully expansive, like, soul, shining our full light. Maybe we've had certain emotions that have kept us restricted or in fear of that. But this new moon solar eclipse is going to help you illuminate those emotions that have been standing in front of your soul, not allowing your soul to fully shine. And in the illumination of that, we're going to finally see that and be able to let it go so that our soul can fully shine. So it's going to be allowing you to see where you've been restricting yourself around fun, enjoyment, shining your light to its fullest. This could even be around dating too, since the 5th house also does sometimes deal with dating. So maybe we've had certain emotional restrictions and barriers around our intimate partnerships or around intimacy that might be highlighted for us to then let go of. And this can also be around, again, just having fun and enjoying yourself and realizing that maybe certain emotions were stopping you from doing that. And now we're going to finally be able to let that go. So it's going to be a very transformative time for my lovely Capricorn. So with that being said, let's go ahead and shuffle these cards some more to get any last info on this reading for my lovely Capricorns. Let's see. We have the Knight of Cups. It is time to let your emotions shine. It is time to lead with your emotions. And Capricorn, that is something Capricorn does not, Capricorn's not used to that. Capricorn is not used to leading with their emotions. But Knight of Cups coming through. This is a time where our emotions are going to be illuminated by that new moon solar eclipse. And because of that, we're going to start to lead with our emotions some more, because we're going to start to amplify those emotions, and they're going to come to the surface to be expressed. We also have the 9 of Pentacles being reversed. And so this is maybe where we are realizing where we've not allowed ourselves to live in our full abundance, you know, especially when it comes to maybe money. Maybe we've been really restrictive around money, and we're realizing, hey, we need some sort of new relationship with our money so that we can begin living our lives some more, so we can begin finding our emotional fulfillment. And emotional fulfillment doesn't come through money, but a lot of the times money is connected to what we have the ability to experience, because our society works on money, right? So maybe we're realizing like, hey, I want to do some stuff for myself, for my soul, so that I can feel really positive and really good. I want to do some things for me. So Capricorn might be realizing some of those things in the month of April. So that's what we have here for you, my wonderful Capricorns. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Remember to check out your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get your over-encompassing, all-encompassing horoscope for the month of April. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye! All right, my lovely Aquariuses, welcome to your part of the horoscope. So for the month of April, we start off April from April 4th to 6th. We're gonna have Mars conjunct Saturn in your first house. Whenever Saturn's in your first house, which has been here for a little bit, it's gonna stay here for a little bit, but whenever Saturn is here, it can bring up some insecurities that we have deep down inside, some insecurities that we have around ourselves, where we might restrict ourselves, where we might feel like, oh, I don't wanna show that part to society, or I wanna work on that. It can be where self-criticism comes out a little bit. And this self-criticism is beneficial in some ways. So even though it's transiting here and it can bring out our insecurities, it also helps us begin to become confident about our previous insecurities. And Mars conjuncting this area is going to really start to amplify these parts of ourselves, and Mars helps us kind of like move energy forward again. So Mars really wants to break through stuff, whereas Saturn wants to create a wall. And so Saturn might have wanted to create certain walls so that we don't feel or notice our insecurities, but Mars is coming through and it's just like, let's just break out of it. Like, let's just get out of the insecurity and let's break through it. So there could be some radical transformations around how you view yourself and how you see yourself. And maybe you're starting to realize like, hey, I want to add in a little bit more self-love. I want to really start to just love who I am and kind of get rid of some of these certain kind of like insecurities. Or maybe we're realizing that we can transform it and, you know, use it in a humorous way, because Aquariuses, I feel like, are really good at that. But anyway, on April 5th, we're going to have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, which is in your second house. The second house is money, material items, and Venus is actually the ruler of money and also love and beauty. So with Venus transiting your second, this can be a time where we feel like maybe making some material purchases. This can be wanting to like beautify our life in some way. This could be where we're making certain material purchases that we've been thinking about for a while, or we just feel like putting more effort into ourselves and putting more effort into our life in some way, where we're just wanting to make it more pleasing, more beauty. Or add more love to it too, because Venus is also the planet of love. This can also be where we just feel like increasing our finances or investing it in something that feels really positive for us, that makes us feel really excited about our future, because Venus is again also the planet of money. And being in the second house, this can be where we're thinking about, how can I expand my money? How can I just feel more abundant? This is literally the transit of abundance. How can I make myself feel more abundant? And some of us feel more abundant when we're like spending our money on things that we really love. Some of us feel more abundant when we're thinking about different ways of like making more money and amplifying our money, just depending on like who you are and things like that. This can get expressed in different ways. And then from April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the sign of Pisces in your second house. This is going to be a huge time of thinking about, how can I expand my money? How can I make it grow? How can I make it bigger? This can be when we start to think about different ways of investing our money. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and transiting your second house, this is going to help you really start to think about different ways of maybe expanding your career, expanding your foundation, your comforts, your material world, your money, your bank account, things like that. And Neptune is about our future, our fantasy. So we're starting to think about, what do I really want? Like, what is the entirety of what I want? And then Jupiter is going to help bring about the thoughts and the different ideas to make that a reality. From April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus then conjunct Neptune, which is also going to amplify our ideas around money. And this is again happening in your second house, which is all about your money and your foundation and things like that. So this is going to really help you start to expand different ideas, different ways of expanding your money, your assets, essentially. So this could be investing in certain ways and other things like that. Just all the things about enhancing assets, money, and your material wealth, and also beautifying your life in different ways. On April 29th, we're going to have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, which is your 12th house. And when Pluto retrogrades over here, it can kind of dig out old stuff that we just need to let go of, like old mentalities that are no longer serving us. The 12th house is just like also old secrets of the past that might be coming up that we're just like, you know what? Time to let the past go, time to let this go. Different stuff like that might be coming up when Pluto goes retrograde in this area. But Pluto also brings us blessings too. So this is also an area where we get unexpected blessings. So as we begin to like get rid of the old and like say goodbye to like old stuff, this could even be cleaning out the closet, especially decluttering our mind, and old things that we used to be attached to, old attachments, are finally going to be brought to the surface. And this transit is going to be happening over the next few months. So this is something that's going to be occurring over the next few months. But we're realizing old things that we used to be attached to. And we're finally realizing like, hey, I should just let that go. Old stuff from the past that we're still emotionally attached to, that we're like, hey, that's actually hindering me rather than helping me. And Pluto's going to help get rid of all of those things. And this can also be where we're like really hard on ourselves in certain ways. It's time to just let that go. Then also on April 30th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which is going to be in your 4th house. New moon solar eclipse are huge, massive change and transformation. So basically, the solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun and eclipses the sun. The moon represents our emotions, so our emotions are moving in front of the sun, which is our soul, which is why it's solar, soul and solar, the same thing. And the sun represents the soul. So our emotions are moving in front of that. And the sun, it illuminates things. So the sun is going to be illuminating our emotions that were sort of hidden from us, especially since they're in the sign of Taurus for you in the 4th house. This is illuminating different emotions that you have around your home life, different emotions that you have around where you want to root yourself in your future, different fears that you might have, blockages that you might have around your home life and where you want to root yourself. So different emotions that you have that are actually restricting the growth of that area are going to be illuminated in the month of April in order to be healed and let go of, because new moon solar eclipses, new moons are about bringing in new energy and completely eradicating the old energy. So anything that's currently stopping you or hindering you from your future of where you want to fully set your foundation and root yourself, all of those different emotions, those fears, those thoughts, those restrictions, all sorts of stuff is going to be illuminated at the end of the month in order to be healed and let go of, so that you can fully shine your soul to its fullest intensity afterwards. So this is going to be a very transformative time for Aquariuses to let go of old things that they were very much attached to. The 4th house is where we have certain attachments and where we having a hard time creating new roots. So huge transformation around that. It's going to help Aquariuses in many ways begin to expand their home life in certain ways and to really root themselves where they belong. So that is what is going to be going on in the month of April. So with that being said, we're also going to shuffle the tarot cards really quick to get any last info for my Aquariuses. So what else do we have going on for Aquarius in the month of April? We have the Knight of Swords coming through. So this is new energy coming in, new mindsets, new thoughts that we want to act on, and leading with our mind. Our mind is leading us somewhere. So in the month of April, look out, because there's new thoughts that might be coming in that might lead your mind toward taking new action in your life. We also have the 4 of Cups here. So it's time to stop focusing on what we do not have. It's also time to stop focusing on pessimism and the things that are going wrong, either in the world or in our own lives. Because the more that we focus on what's going wrong, we do not see opportunity. We do not see the goodness that's hiding right over here. If we shift our perspective, we can see what's over here. So this month is the key to this month, actually, the key to having a very good month, Aquarius, is to shift your focus from all of the negativity and shift your focus on the positivity, because that's the only way that you're going to see opportunity in front of you. That's the only way you're going to see this. Shift your focus. Okay? That's the key to the month of April, because that way you're going to see that new opportunity, and there's going to be something that you really want to act on. There might be new information coming through that can shift you massively. So that is what we have for my beautiful Aquariuses. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to check out your other sun, moon, and rising signs to get an overall encompassing view of your month of April, to get the most accurate horoscope. And hopefully I see you guys in my next one. Bye. All right, my beautiful Pisces, welcome to your part of the horoscope. So we start off April from April 4th to the 6th. We're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn in your 12th house in the sign of Aquarius. This is where we're going to start to realize that our mindset might be restricting us in certain ways, and we need to sort of heal this. Mars wants to break through, it wants to take action, and being in the 12th house, it wants to move forward mentally. It wants to have creativity. It wants to just, like have movement. But Saturn can make us realize that we have certain restrictions mentally that have been maybe blocking us, and Mars is just going to come through and want to help us like break out of that and break through those Saturn walls. Maybe we're realizing that we need to have a bit more like new structure within our mind, within our mentality, because maybe our mentality has been like stopping us or hindering us in certain ways. On April 5th, we're going to have Venus move into the sign of Pisces. So it's moving from your 12th house into your first house. And this is a very positive transit, because this is going to be a time where we want to beautify ourselves. The first house is you, your body, your physicality, your persona, everything about you that makes you you. Venus moving over here, Venus is the planet of love and beauty and money. So this can be where we're deciding like, hey, I want to kind of renew myself. I want to have a new energy. I want to recreate myself a little bit. So Pisces, you're going through a time of like rebirth and renewal and wanting to like make yourself better. And you've been kind of going through a little bit of this, because we've had Neptune in your sign for a while and it's still in your sign. We've had Jupiter that moved over here recently, and Venus is now going to be over here. So all these planets are really helping you start to redefine a new you, a new version of Pisces. From April 7th to the 17th, we're going to have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces, which is of course also your first house. And this is going to help you realize that there's new ways that you desire to expand. And there's also a new you that's really wanting to come through. So I think that you've had a new idea of like, ooh, I see that I can kind of dream up a new me a little bit, especially with Neptune that's been over here for a while. So it's showing us, that we can actually be the best version of ourselves. And Jupiter's coming over here being like, okay, let's like make the magic happen. Let's expand into it. Let's do it. Let's stop just thinking about it like Neptune likes to do. Neptune loves to dream about it, which is again, your ruling planet. And then Jupiter is your traditional ruler. So both of these planets are extremely great to be in your same sign. Because they are your planets. So these are all both dreamlike planets asking you to like, let's expand into this new version of you. Let's expand out of the old. Let's let the old go and let's expand into something new and exciting and dreamlike. Let's make your dreams, because Pisces, you are the master of dreaming. Let's make your dream life a reality. Let's expand it. Let's go into it. And then from April 27th to the 28th, we're going to have Venus conjunct Neptune in your first house. This can be bringing about more feelings of love, more feelings of beauty, wanting to focus more on like, hey, I want to make myself the best version of myself. Maybe I want to start working out. Maybe I want to start, focusing more on me to make myself feel and become the best version of me. This is a time where Pisces is getting creative with themselves and wanting to become the best version of them. Conjunct with Neptune, again, that's the dream planet. That is your planet. Conjunct with the planet of love and beauty and money. Like this is just all great energy for the creation of you and making you into the best version of you. On April 29th, we're going to have Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn, which is your 11th house. So this is us reevaluating maybe like who our friends are. Maybe we're starting to kind of like, revise like who we're spending our time with, because Pluto is this planet of transformation and it brings up old stuff from the past. The 11th house is the house of our friendships. So maybe we're starting to realize like, there's certain things that I don't really want to spend my time doing anymore. And there's also going to be certain things that you do really want to spend your time doing, because Pluto, it shows us what's no longer serving us. Maybe we have certain friendships that constantly take and never give, and it's not reciprocative, and we're maybe feeling like kind of drained by those. Pluto is the planet of getting rid of the things that no longer serve you. So Pluto's going to amplify like the good relationships that feel really good to us while also taking away the ones that don't. So Pluto retrograde is the revision of friendships, and you're going to notice that other ones get very amplified at this time. Other relationships that maybe weren't as amplified before are going to start to really pop up in your life and become really important connections. Pluto in the 11th house brings about really important connections and gets rid of all the ones that are no longer important. So you might realize that people that you used to spend your time with are no longer in your life anymore for some reason. And then new people in your life, or others that you weren't seeing as much, are all of a sudden just like massive, deep connections. So Pluto's going to be doing this transit, going retrograde through the 11th house for the next few months. This is a transit that's going to be taking place over the next few months. So you're going to notice these energies taking place again over the next few months. On April 30th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus in your 3rd house, which is also dealing with friendships. And a new moon solar eclipse is very powerful. Also, my camera's about to die, so hopefully I can finish this in time. But a new moon solar eclipse is basically when the moon, which represents our emotions, moves in front of the sun, which is the representation of our soul, which is why it's solar eclipse, the soul. And so whenever the moon moves in front of that, our emotions, they get illuminated by our soul. The sun illuminates those emotions. So this could be emotions that need renewing. The new moon is all about new beginnings, and eclipses are all about massive change. And so this solar eclipse is realizing how your emotions have been restricting your soul from fully shining. And this is all happening in your 3rd house. So this is your mentality, your mind. What emotions have you been having that have restricted what you thought was possible for yourself? What emotions or fears have been stopping your soul from fully going for what your soul really wants, especially when it comes to your friendships, the people in your life, the communication that you want to have, the new learning that you want to have, the new interests that you want to go into, all these different things, however you want to expand yourself. What emotions have been holding you back in those ways? What emotions have been causing you to maybe speak even, because the 3rd house is also how we speak and how we listen. How have your emotions been restricting you in your mindset and what you believe is possible and what you communicate as? It's time to allow that to go away, those old versions of you to finally go away, those old emotions that have been stopping your soul from fully shining. Those are going to be illuminated to finally be shed so that your soul can like finally shine to its fullest when it comes to the things that you want to say, the person you want to be, the interests that you want to have, the friends that you want to be surrounded by, and all sorts of things like that. So your mentality is going to be shifting huge by the end of the month in a very positive way through this solar eclipse. And now we're going to shuffle these cards to get any last information. My camera's literally at 1%, so hopefully we can get a card. Perfect. We have these two. Where we may be, so friends that we no longer resonate with are going to be leaving our lives. And we're going to be finally making the connections that we're supposed to be making. So there's going to be a huge transformation in your life. And we're also going to be figuring out what we're actually really passionate about. What are you really passionate about, Pisces? So that is what we have here for you. I'm sorry that was a quick little ending here, but my camera's literally about to die. I hope you enjoyed it, Pisces. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Remember to check out your other sun, moon, and rising sign to get your overall encompassing horoscope for the month of April. And hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye.